In the early summer of 1942, the world was engulfed in the flames of World War II. The Pacific theater had seen rapid Japanese expansion, threatening the very existence of Allied forces in the region. Amidst this turbulent backdrop, a small, seemingly insignificant atoll in the Pacific Ocean became the stage for one of the most crucial naval battles in history, the Battle of Midway. From June 3rd to June 6, 1942, the Battle of Midway unfolded as a dramatic clash between the United States and Japan. This confrontation wasn't just a mere skirmish. It was a decisive moment that would alter the course of the war in the Pacific. The stakes were incredibly high, and the outcome would hinge on strategy, intelligence, and sheer bravery. Midway Atoll, a small coral atoll consisting of Eastern Island and the larger Sand Island, lies roughly halfway between Asia and North America. Its strategic location made it a coveted prize for both the United States and Japan. The U.S. had claimed Midway back in 1859, and by the early 20th century, it had become an essential stopover point for trans-Pacific flights. However, it was World War II that truly highlighted its significance. In the lead-up to the battle, the United States had been preparing Midway as a formidable defensive outpost. By 1940, the U.S. Navy had established a major air and submarine base there, complete with runways, seaplane hangars, and defensive garrisons. The Japanese, well aware of Midway's strategic importance, aimed to seize the atoll, believing that its capture would cripple the American military presence in Hawaii and disrupt Allied supply lines between the United States and Australia. Japanese military forces, fresh from their success at Pearl Harbor, had swiftly expanded their control across the Pacific. Their conquests seemed unstoppable, extending westward towards India and threatening Allied positions. However, by mid-1942, the tide began to turn. The Battle of the Coral Sea in May had already shown that the Allies could challenge Japanese dominance. Now the Battle of Midway would prove to be the ultimate test. ADM Isoroku Yamamoto, the mastermind behind the Pearl Harbor attack, orchestrated the Japanese plan to capture Midway. He dispatched a massive fleet known as the Kido Butai, which included 4 heavy aircraft carriers, Akagi, Hiryu, Kaga, and Soryu. This formidable force was supplemented by 2 light carriers, 2 seaplane carriers, 7 battleships, 15 cruisers, 42 destroyers, 10 submarines, and various support vessels. Meanwhile, the United States was not sitting idly by. American intelligence had managed to break the Japanese JN-25 naval code, uncovering Japan's plans to attack Midway. Admiral Chester Nimitz, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, was determined to thwart the Japanese offensive. Despite facing significant challenges, including a lack of battleships and only 2 combat-ready heavy carriers, Nimitz's forces were ready to engage. The American fleet was divided into 2 task forces. Task Force 16, led by Rear ADM Raymond Spruance, which included the carriers Enterprise and Hornet, and Task Force 17, under Rear ADM Frank Jack Fletcher, which included the carrier Yorktown. The Yorktown, though heavily damaged from the Battle of the Coral Sea, had been miraculously repaired in just 3 days and was back in action. The battle commenced on June 3rd, 1942, when an American reconnaissance plane spotted elements of the Japanese invasion fleet west of Midway. American forces launched a series of bombing runs, but initial attacks proved ineffective. However, these early skirmishes set the stage for the larger confrontation to come. The morning of June 4th, 1942, dawned with tension and anticipation. At 5:45 a.m., a Catalina pilot radioed an uncoded message, alerting Midway that Japanese planes were on their way. Within minutes, the air was filled with the roar of engines, as both American and Japanese aircraft took to the skies. The first wave of Japanese planes, comprising dive bombers and torpedo bombers escorted by fighters, attacked Midway around 6:30 a.m. The American pilots, outnumbered and outgunned, fought valiantly but suffered heavy losses. Despite the fierce defense, the Japanese bombardment caused significant damage to Midway's infrastructure. Amidst the chaos, ADM Nagumo, commander of the Kido Butai, faced a critical decision. Believing he still had the element of surprise, Nagumo ordered his planes to rearm with torpedoes for a second strike on Midway. However, at 7:28 a.m., a scout plane reported sighting an American naval force. Nagumo, now aware of the imminent threat, halted the rearming process and prepared for a direct confrontation with the American fleet. As the morning progressed, American carrier-based planes launched their attack on the Japanese fleet. At 10:20 a.m., the first wave of American torpedo bombers struck, but they faced devastating losses without achieving significant hits. However, this initial assault drew Japanese fighters down to sea level, leaving the Japanese carriers vulnerable. Around 10:22 a.m., a squadron of Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bombers from the Enterprise and Yorktown arrived. Diving out of the sun, they targeted the Japanese carriers Kaga, Akagi, and Soryu. In a matter of minutes, they scored critical hits, setting the carriers ablaze. The tide of battle had turned dramatically in favor of the Americans. The lone remaining Japanese carrier, Hiryu, launched a desperate counterattack. Just after noon, Hiryu's planes struck the Yorktown, leaving it dead in the water. Despite the damage, the Yorktown's crew managed to restore some operational capability, only to be hit again by a second wave of Hiryu's planes. The Yorktown was critically damaged and ultimately abandoned. By the afternoon of June 4th, American forces had located the Hiryu. A combined attack from the Enterprise, Yorktown, and Hornet dive bombers left the Hiryu burning and beyond recovery. With the destruction of all 4 Japanese carriers, the Kido Butai was effectively neutralized. The battle raged on for 2 more days as American forces pursued the remnants of the Japanese fleet. On June 5th and 6th, U.S. bombers inflicted further damage, sinking the heavy cruiser Mikuma and damaging other ships. The Yorktown, though initially saved, was ultimately lost to a Japanese submarine attack. The Battle of Midway was a catastrophic defeat for Japan. They lost 4 carriers, a heavy cruiser, and over 320 planes. More than 3,000 Japanese sailors and airmen perished. In contrast, the U.S. lost 1 carrier, the Yorktown, a destroyer, and nearly 150 aircraft, with 317 personnel killed. That battle marked a turning point in the Pacific War. Japan's naval capabilities were significantly diminished, and they were forced onto the defensive for the remainder of the conflict. The victory at Midway brought the Pacific naval forces of Japan and the United States to parity, shifting the momentum in favor of the Allies. The Battle of Midway was not just a victory of military might, it was a triumph of intelligence and strategy. The breaking of the Japanese naval code, the courageous decisions made by Admirals Nimitz, Fletcher, and Spruance, and the bravery of the pilots and sailors all contributed to this decisive win. The Battle of Midway demonstrated the importance of carrier warfare and marked the beginning of the end for Japanese expansion in the Pacific. It remains one of the most significant naval battles in history, a testament to the courage and ingenuity of those who fought and secured a pivotal victory for the Allies. Thank you for watching our deep dive into the Battle of Midway. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you find most fascinating about this epic naval battle? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. We have more exciting historical content coming your way, and we can't wait to share it with you. Thanks for your support, and see you in the next video.